Ron basically wanted me to try and decipher a brilliant concept by Perry Husbands. And since I couldn't decipher it, I thought I would add some things to it, things I could decipher, so that I could get to Perry Husbands' stuff and show you how it applies. And so what I did, basically, this is basically attacking the hitter, tactics and strategies, just basically some thoughts on things you might want to use to when you start talking to your pitchers about this thing. I'll send this to you. There's not a lot of secrets on this thing, so if you want it, I can send it to you in this form, or it's in your manual. Go ahead. First of all, three different methods that I'm going to talk about. Graphs of past history. You see this a lot where they have graphs and people look at graphs, the inside edge, who hits what, who hits them where, what pitches were, what the count was, and all that stuff. Don Rowe. Don Rowe was a pitching coach for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's actually a football guy out of Southern California area, I believe. And his basic premises, three basic premises, are throw first or second pitch for strikes, hopefully with more than one pitch, okay? I mean, it's great to be able to control your fastball, but it really does help if you have something other than your fastball, especially as you move up the ladder. Pay close attention to the 1-1, 2-0, 2-1 pitch. Then he uses terminology that all of you have used before. You know, throw it outside, throw it inside, throw it up, throw it down. He uses terminology like boxing, half boxing, tilting and reversing, eye switch, tilt, double wraps, stuff that I had understood before, but never really dove into it until I put this presentation together. And the guy who really helped me with this was Jerry Weinstein, okay? And I'll talk about that more. Then the last one, Perry Husbands' Effective Velocity, which many of you are very familiar with, and I'll try and put a bow on this and try and help you get through that program. Go ahead. Graphs of past history. Most graphs that you look at will tell you what the guy hits on that given pitch. It's a skewed graph because anytime you have 2 strikes or 3 balls on that particular thing, it's going to skew the on-base percentage, the slugging percentage, all of this stuff. So what this graph tells you is it's the best estimate of value moving from count to count. So basically, let's look at the 0-0 count. What happens is after you go 0-0 and you go 1-0, that's what happens. So if you look at the difference between 855 and 759, for example, that's a 96-point difference right there. So it basically will show you. Now, if we look at the 1-1 count, which is so important, I kind of hyphenated, made it larger there. After that, if you go to 1 and 2, what happens if you go to 1 and 2 after the 1-2 count? Hitters have an OPS of 525. Look what happens to the OPS if you go 2 and 1. It goes down to 827. It goes up to 827, I mean. So all this does is show you not what happens on that pitch, but what happens on the next pitch if you happen to go 2 and 1 as opposed to 1 and 2. Okay, that's on that sheet I gave you there. The sheet I gave you, I wasn't able to, it's part of the Cardinal manual, so don't tell anybody. Basically what it does is give you some general guidelines through all the counts, just in general. You can look at that at your leisure, but this chart's in that thing right there. Let's go to the next one. Assigning value to the pitch. Now let's look at graphs. The graphs that I'm going to show you right now are graphs that will be the strike zone. It'll have different colors in it. And basically what the graph is telling you, if you see a dark color on the graph, if you throw 100 pitches to that dark color, you will give up minus 4 runs for that amount of time. If you throw 100 pitches to the very light color, you're going to give up 4 runs. So there's an 8-run difference between white and black when you look at these graphs. A minus 4 is good, so if you were able to throw a minus 4 pitch 100 times and get there, you could expect to surrender 3 or 4 runs. I think it should be 4 runs less. Let's go to the graph. Here we have a graph right here. Basically on the far left, what we have is right-handed pitchers throwing to right-handed hitters. No surprise, the dark, where's that thing at? Let me just... The dark part right here, obviously, this is no surprise. It's good to throw fastballs down and away to right-handed hitters. But another good spot is where that's often not understood is right up here. So we don't, as pitchers, practice pitching up, which is a big mistake we make. I've yet to ever see a hitting coach do soft toss hitting balls up here. They all go into torso, they throw the ball down and away, and that's where they work at. Now we got right-handed pitcher to left-handed hitter. Also down and away is obviously awful good. This is where it gets a little dicey in here. These are four-seam fastballs that we're talking about. So the darker the color, -4 runs per 100. This is about as dark as you can get right there. That's that perfect down and away pitch. These are just graphs. Go to the next one. Here we have sinking fastballs. Now, those of you that know the Cardinal organization, they're a huge believer in sinking the fastball. Where I get in trouble is that I kind of like 97 also, with a great curveball, okay? So what we have here is our sinking fastballs, and there's no surprise here. Right-handed pitcher to right-handed hitters, look where the dark, this is an unbelievably great pitch to develop right here. This is -4, down and away. Where do most people throw this pitch? Over in here. This is an arm side sink, soft run, open up the front side a little bit, the arm drags, the ball sinks a little bit. It gets pounded between that 5 and 6 hole a lot of times, okay? But being able to throw an extension side fastball, if I can find my light here, my light seems to died on me. If I can get this extension side fastball, this is one heck of a pitch right here. Right-handed pitcher to sinking a fastball, the lefty, obviously this plays really big over here. Look what happens to misplaced sinking fastballs up and in. They don't get hit very hard. So even though you sink it, if you miss it so bad, you end up coming out golden. So if you're going to go bad, go really bad. Okay, don't go halfway bad, just go really bad. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is on ball footing flag.
Yeah.
And why aren't we seeing more dark on big pitches just out of the zone?
Well, these are all balls put in play. There's dark right here. That's off the zone. There's the strike zone right there. Because big league hitters don't swing at that as much. That's why. Your guys do, but big league guys don't. Yeah. The reason I like the right-handed sinking fastball, the right-handed hitters, if you cause a hitter to reach, where does he normally hit the ground ball? Shortstop, second base. They're back in a deeper position. This can be taught, guys. This is a difficult pitch. This is what Maddux did. This is what Lowe does. This is what a lot of the guys that can really pitch. The way you can learn this pitch, it's a difficult pitch because you have to overcompensate for the width of your shoulders, get the ball to the extension side. So it's really, anybody can throw the ball inside. All I got to do is peel off early, let this arm drag, I'll get something. What really helps you when you're working with your pitchers, if he's struggling, is go out and tell him, rather than a mechanical thing, say, get on top of your fastball and drive a fastball down in the zone to the extension side. If he does that, almost every other pitch comes back into play. So this can be taught. One of the ways we teach it, and this is what happens in Houston, stays in Houston, is I use a thing called misattribution. Misattribution is basically, and I've taught this to a number of guys, you get 3 baseballs. You got a guy who's getting his butt kicked and can't get anybody out. He has no movement to the ball. You take 3 baseballs. You scuff one side of the baseball with a deep scuff, the second ball with a medium scuff, the third ball is a brand new baseball. You go to practice, you throw 10 or 15 pitches with each of those. Over time, the brain being plastic and the brain being able to see these things, it's much like a golfer who understands what he has to do to spin the ball around a tree and land on the green. If they see that movement enough times, their body starts to make that movement. That's how the beauty of what our brain can do for us. So over time, you get tremendous movement with the big scuff, medium movement with the little scuff, and over time, you start to get solid movement with the brand new baseball because of practicing it. The thing you try and do on this pitch, try and throw it straight. Try and throw it straight. Don't try and make it move. Don't put finger pressure. Don't try and turn it. Don't try and do anything. You'll be amazed at the success you will get with this over time. Here's a right-handed slider to right-handed hitters. Obviously, everybody knows this was Ron's pitch in college right here. This is where he lived right here. Again, hanging sliders high in the zone. No, you actually get people out right here. You can actually get some people out. Where you don't get people out is right there. Those are what we call cement mixers. They just kind of and go there. Okay, next one. Here we have right-handed pitching changeups to left-handed hitters. This is off Major League Baseball for the last couple of years. So these are millions of pitches right here. Obviously, this is where we like to go. My belief is I'm a little surprised that this is not better because I preach. I want the guys to make contact. I preach down the middle. Waist high, make them hit the baseball, just get them on their front foot. But obviously, you'll see some two-plane changeups that Maddux throws and people like that can really do some special stuff. This is what Maddux does right here. What Maddux does, what I read from him, on 2-2 pitches, he intentionally throws a ball so he can throw a changeup 3-2. That takes some sack, gentlemen. Okay? That takes sack. We all know that a 3-2 off-speed pitch is a much more, is a tougher pitch on a hitter than a 2-2 pitch because there's always that possibility. And no matter how much, and this is where if you can really get your kids to understand this, no matter how good a changeup a guy may have and the command of it, the hitter is begging for a fastball. And he's got Maddux pitching against him, and he says, he doesn't want to walk me. Well, Maddux, it plays right into Maddox's hand. All he's got to do is, and we'll talk about the first 20 feet of flight, is get that ball going the first 20. You're asking Maddux to throw a changeup for 20 feet to make it look for a strike. That's all you got to do. And they're usually balls, and the guy swings at it. Next one. These are the questions that Perry Husbands would ask about the charts. Because I asked him. I sent this to him. I said, give me some feedback. This guy's brilliant, man. He's got 3 books out that are outstanding. I strongly urge you to look into these things and try and take them a little bit at a time. It's kind of like reading the Bible. Take one section at a time. Don't try and do it all in one day. The graphs, what he would say, the graphs give no previous pitch information, which is very true. Okay? The best pitch is thrown, hit hard when done at the wrong time. Well, you'll see what he talks about, throwing the pitch at the right time to the right hitter, et cetera, et cetera. The worst pitches with no movement are swung and missed, and graphs leave out information about who the hitter is. That basically, those graphs are everybody from Brendan Ryan hitting 196 to Pujols hitting 370. Okay, that's those numbers. Go ahead. Pitch frequency. This just to give you an idea of what they throw in the major leagues. I think what's surprising to me is this right here. This pitch is dying right here. Pitch is dying. Back in the day when I played, this pitch was much more prevalent. This pitch has overtaken it because this takes a little more time to throw than this one. This one right here maintains its fastball course longer than this. The reason I like this pitch is because when you hang it and it's slower, you got a chance. When you hang this puppy here, the speed differential to the fastball is a lot closer. You get banged pretty good. So if you look at the lefty on lefty, I think this is a pitch that most people vastly underrate. I did this a little bit late in my career because I didn't have much to go with anyway. Left-handed pitcher on a left-handed hitter, they only throw 5.1% of them. That's a hell of a pitch. Hell of a pitch. Throw an inside changeup to a left-handed hitter, what's he think the pitch is going to be? Fastball. If he guesses right, if he guesses and it stays on a changeup, he's going to hit it 500 feet foul. A lot of times they swing right through the pitch. So most of the time you'll see lefties always throw that pitch. Look at the amount of lefty on righty, 14, 5.1, righty on lefty. So right-handers, my belief is if you got a good changeup, teach them to throw it to everybody. Go. Yeah, Ron made a point, Maddux made a statement, it's easier to jam a guy soft than it is hard sometimes. Jamie Moyer jams more people than anybody in baseball, sometimes throwing 80-mile-an-hour fastball because of the threat of his changeup. Go ahead. Pitch movement. We use the TrackMan right here. That thing I told you about earlier. How important is pitch movement relative to pitch location? Above average movement is not subjective. When I gave Perry this chart, he basically shot back at me, well, how can you do movement? Well, what we did for last 2 years is any ball that moved 5 inches, either laterally or up and down or laterally, was considered exceptional movement. Anything less than 5 inches was considered normal average movement. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. At the major league level, ability to identify and quantify how many inches a pitch moves relative to straight, that's what we did. The 5 inches I talked about. Go ahead. All right, this is important to me. Pitch movement, two-seam fastballs. When you throw above average sinking movement and you live in the middle of the plate with above average movement, you're going to give up this many runs, minus 1.9 per 100 pitches. If you have below average sinking movement, you're going to give up that. So there's about a 2-run difference right there between 3-inch movement in the middle of the plate and 5-inch movement in the middle of the plate. Middle of the plate is the key thing to think about here. Go ahead. Now we got pitch movement, two-seam fastballs. Above average movement down and away, this is right on right, minus 5.5 runs per 100 pitches. My, this gets a little bit different now, doesn't it? Look how minus this plays now, doesn't it? This movement down in location, even though with below average movement or average movement, becomes very close to great movement. So it goes to show you what Perry talks about, location is everything, okay? Both in speeds and getting people out. Now we got two-seam fastballs, pitch movement. Look what happens if I have nasty, filthy Kevin Brown sinking movement middle of the plate, and I have very average, below average sinking movement, 2-inch movement compared to 7-inch movement up here, down and away. Who comes out ahead? This guy down here. This guy down here. So while we understand stuff is important, stuff is only important at the highest levels as to where you throw the pitch. And we'll talk about how we do that. Go ahead. Pitch movement, how important is pitch movement? Relative pitch. Pitch movement matters, but a pitch with modest movement located well will significantly outperform a pitch with excellent movement located poorly. So when we deal with velocity, understand, I'm a big believer in velocity. Once you start to establish that, just don't throw caution to the wind and just let balls fly. Start to, like Ron showed you, he does his velocity work, he does his command work, then he does his what, which is the most difficult, is the command plus velocity work, trying to bring the two together. There's nothing better than having velocity and command. You can't beat that, okay? Go ahead. How important is velocity? Exceptional velocity or above average movement definitely helps, but doesn't come close to making up for poor location. At the major league level, a straight 88-mile fastball located on the corner will beat a 93-mile-an-hour pitch down the middle with movement over the long haul. Coaches and player development people understand this. Scouts don't. Scouts go, they put the radar gun up, and that's it. They have no clue about command and location, about a guy repeating pitches and doing that. You look at any of the reports, the first thing they're going to talk about, how hard a guy throws, his strikeouts, the velocity of the curveball, and all this stuff. So that's what they do, is they hold a gun. They're information gatherers, for the most part. Go ahead. Here we have four-seam fastballs, 93-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle. We have a 90 to 93. They give it this amount of runs, and then you got your 87 to 90. So if you're going to pitch down the middle with doo-doo, you're in trouble, okay? You really want to, the less stuff you have, the more you're going to have to understand that this becomes more of a priority. Go ahead. Here we have four-seam fastballs in location. Look what you get here. You get a great number here, but look how close this number is to it. We're talking 87 to 93 plus. Not a huge difference. Not a huge difference. Okay, next one. Four-seam fastballs, pitch velocity. This is where we've got 3.5, an 87-mile-an-hour fastball, 1.1 minus 4. So you actually do better down here than you do right there at the highest levels. These guys, these big league hitters guys, they can put wood to a bullet. They put wood to a bullet. They don't care. They don't really care how hard you throw. They'll just hone you in, and then they'll shorten it up, and they'll pound it. Go ahead. How important is velocity? Velocity matters, but a fastball with mediocre velocity, good location, will significantly outperform a pitch with excellent, and we just talked about that. Go ahead. All right, stride length. Basically what this shows, this chart throws you that basically it's saying the longer stride you take, the closer you are to home plate, the less reaction time the hitter has. This is the reaction time. This is how quick the ball gets when you take a stride, a 7-foot stride, let's say. It gets there in 0.414. I'm going to take a 4-foot stride. It gets there in 4.438. So is stride length important? Yeah. We both throw 90 miles an hour. It stands to reason that the closer I get to home plate upon release, the quicker I'm going to be. Hitters hit what they see, not what you throw. Okay? Next one. Don Rowe. Let's go to Don Rowe. Throw the first pitch. First pitch strikes hit at a 358 average balls put in play. This number is kind of a misnomer because it doesn't take into account how many foul balls and how many strikes you get also, okay? So a foul ball or a strike is not an out, but when they put balls in play, this is because pitchers do what? They throw this pitch right here. I got to get ahead. I got to get ahead. To me, with 1-0 pitch, when you're 1-0, you're neutral in the count. You're not behind. If you develop your weapons, it can actually be an advantage to be behind in the count, if you have weapons. If you have no weapons, then it's a whole different story. Rowe gave them an option line of two pitchers who have, as their number one control pitch and off speed, can be finer in the 0 count. If you have a slider, if Flint is pitching and he has a slider he can throw, it doesn't bother him to go 1-0. Am I right, Flint? He comes back with a slider and he gets a lot of outs up because the guy thinks what? He's going to throw me a fastball. Flint makes his slider look like a fastball. He hits a ground ball to short. At bat is over with. In 2006, the on-base and slugging percentage difference between an 0-0 off speed and a fastball was 143 points. Only 26% of first pitches are swung at the major league level. 93% of first pitch strikes end up as an out or produce an 0-1 count. This is the thing that's important. This shocked me right here. You got pitchers that throw first pitch strikes at 56% of the time. Look at the number when the count goes to 3-0. That has got to be fear. That is strictly fear. The hitter's not swinging 3-0, so I'm going to throw a strike. 0-0, the hitter might swing. I'm a little concerned. I'm going to be afraid. If you could, can you imagine over the course, maybe not in a game or whatever, but over the course of a season and career, what if was your first pitch strike total? You're Vegas, man. You're playing with house money. Okay? Go ahead. Number 2, pay attention to 1-1, 2-0, 2-1 counts. The 1-1 ball or strike throws count around. That's the biggest one for me. It switches the at-bat, 1-1, difference between 1 and 2, 2 and 1. The biggest on comes when the count moves from this count to this count, or from this count to that count. This is all your thing. Focus should be on throwing the highest percentage strike pitch. Again, hopefully more than one type. Come up, if you want your guy to get to the highest level, make him unique. Come up with something. Come up with something. A dynamite change, a split, a quick slider, a little cutter, a little sinker, something. Just don't go standard fare and be able to throw a four-seam fastball and occasionally get a curve over, or occasionally get a slider over, or occasionally get something else over. If you want them to pitch at the highest level, I'm sure this happens at D1, the top junior colleges, have something, really work on something for them and what happens when you develop this off-speed pitch? Your fastball becomes so much better. The fact that you go like this sets this question in the hitter's mind, and all of a sudden, it's a whole different ballgame. Attacking the hitter, these are what we're going to look at. He was the pitching coach from this era right here. He's since passed away, but he was really ahead of his time in doing this. Let's go ahead. Here we have a boxed fastball. By a boxed fastball, what I'm going to do is show you where the boxed fastball is, and I'm going to show you a video of the pitch itself, okay? So bear with me as we switch here. This is a boxed fastball. It's basically a low fastball that goes between the crick of the knee and just above the knee, right in this area right here. Obviously, this is where we all like to teach guys to throw the baseball. Go ahead for me. The video is the next slide. Jesus Christ. There's the box fastball. Do you have any volume on for me to add a little substance to this thing? Huh? That's Kershaw just throwing the ball down in the little crook of the thing. Oh, the volume right down at the bottom. You see where it's at right down there? Open the volume thing down at the bottom. There you go. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, we'll let it run again. Here we go. That's the box fastball.
Together offense and that of the Washington Nationals. He went 6 shutout last time against them. Good fan.
Okay, let's go to the next one. They've seen this one enough. We got a lot to go through. Elevated fastball. Let's go ahead and hit this. Sorry. Okay, then go to the next one. You screwed this whole thing up for me, didn't you? Here's an elevated fastball in. Here's elevated fastballs in. This is TV.
Good.
Yeah, turn it down a little bit. It doesn't need to be that loud.
Good.
This pitch needs to be practiced, gentlemen. This ball is put in play less than any other pitch in baseball right here. You do not hit this ball fair. Okay? You need to practice it. Even if you miss, it serves a purpose, okay? We get so focused on pitching down. The only person that cares about the strike zone and home plate is the umpire. Hitters set their strike zone by their stance. Pitchers are professional glove hitters. Practice this, please. Let's go to the next one. Here we have an eye switch tilt. Basically, this is just a fastball up and a fastball down. This can be practiced also. Go to the next one. Hold it right there for a second. Look at these numbers right here. This to just show you. Elevated fastballs. I did that, I'm sorry. I switch tilt right there. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Okay, look at this. Hitters hit 158 on balls that are up out of the zone. They hit 211 on balls that are balls. So we're talking about balls down here, they actually have a higher batting average than they do balls up here. This is a very difficult pitch to hit. This pitch appears faster. It's tougher for the hitter, as we'll talk about as we go. Here's Cliff Lee, high fastball.
They get hard enough. That's what I was saying.
Cliff Lee, the very next pitch.
3-2 pitch.
Completely different look for that hitter right there. Whether he did it intentionally or not, I don't know. Sometimes just by accident we do a good job with this guy.
3-2 pitch. Swung on.
Okay.
In the games, they don't try to do it in batting practice.
Here we have half-box fastballs. What half-box fastballs, if you remember what I told you with the box fastball, the rectangle, all we did was turn the rectangle upside down, cut the home plate in half, and so you're basically throwing the ball down and away. This is a half-boxing is throwing mid-thigh just below the knees to the pitcher's arm or extension side, depending on where you want to go. This one is Jamie Moyer going back-to-back fastballs away, ball. Most hitters will think maybe he's going to come in now. He goes right back to that spot. The hitter takes it because the last one was a ball. You got him out. Okay, so that's just basically repeating in the same spot, which is not a bad thing to do. Next one. Got to hustle through this a little bit. Here's left on left double in. This is left-handed pitcher throwing fastballs in on guys. Right here.
All making the list.
Gonzalez. Foul ball.
There's Hermida.
Gonzalez. Takes it.
Strike three called.
Okay? Basically, so this is just, you all do this. This is just a form of the way he went about it. Next one. Here we have left on right, double away. You got a left-hand pitcher throwing, this is what I did a lot. This is the easiest thing for us left-handers. You go fastball away right here. So this is Davis, who obviously didn't come to the camp.
Change your plans tonight. Forget about that pizza place.
That was a ball. He comes right back at it. And strike three. Okay, next one. You're doing great, Jeff. Thanks, buddy. Here's right on left, double in.
One of three here.
That pitch affected that hitter right there, even though it was a ball.
This year, only 7.
Probably looking away right now because he wants to get a strike. He comes right back in there.
Got it.
Mine just doesn't really want to take it. Okay? Go ahead. Here we have a reverse. This is away and then in, so you're going away and then coming right back in at him. I'll clean up my computer skills for the next time. There's a fastball for away for a strike.
Lead late there later on tonight.
He comes up and in on Edmonds.
Phoenix.
No chance.
And Edmonds is a strikeout.
And Perry Husbands understands this better than anybody. Okay, what just happened? Here's right on left, double away. The right-handed pitcher throwing to a left-handed hitter, doubling it up.
In the ninth.
Fastball away. Next pitch. Fastball away. So going on in the hitter's mind, a lot of times they're trying to guess with you. You can reverse this and go against their thinking. Next one. Here's right on right, double away. Obviously, I'm going through all the scenarios here for you. Make this one real quick. We show it. This is our fastball. This is Loesch with the Cardinals, just missing a little bit outside. Coming right back at it. That's one of those little comeback fastballs right there that we talked about. Here we have right on right, double in. You need to practice pitching inside. You need to understand this. Here we have Wellmeyer. There's some effect right there to the hitter.
Little off the strike zone.
For a ball.
On the strike
He comes
zone,
right back at him.
depending on your perspective.
You can notice I haven't had much influence on the big league Cardinal pitchers, okay? So don't hold me accountable. Here we have the tilt in reversing. This creates timing problems. This could be a fastball hand high or a fastball low and away or an off speed or slider. Basically, you're just tilting it. So you're taking the box, which was a box here. You got reverse, you got the half box, then you got the taking the box and just tilting it as a rectangle up this way. That's all you're doing, basically. This is nothing special. It's just a way to look at it. Let's see what we got.
Going to the count to Molina.
There's some trauma right there, boys. That's some trauma that took place. I really don't want that pitch right there. You can kind of see the buckle of the guys, okay? Here we have uncomfortable ABs. This is what we see when we throw to an uncomfortable AB. Let's go to the next one. This is Jermaine Dye This is low and in without movement of the feet is not inside. It has to be hand high or above and making the feet move.
Take a look at
This is
this
Jermaine
last
Dye.
fastball upstairs, and they're trying
That
to
created a
pound him
situation
upstairs.
right there. You need to practice this,
Take a
guys.
look at this
I
last
can't tell you
fastball
enough you need to
upstairs,
practice
and they're
this.
trying to pound him
How do you
upstairs.
practice it? Well, there's a number of
Take a look at
ways.
this
Let's go to the
last
next one.
fastball upstairs, and they're trying to pound him.
Number of ways to practice this besides doing what I do, which is buy riot gear and have the pitchers throw at me unintentionally. Believe me, when you put the riot gear on and you tell your pitchers to throw at you, it doesn't hurt if you close your eyes as the ball makes impact. It doesn't hurt. Okay? Here's a way you can practice throwing inside right here. Very simple. I think this is a lot better than having your guy stand there with, you see a lot of pitching coaches, they'll stand here with their glove and try and catch it. The kid never lets himself have freedom. This way, you just let it fly. Okay? You just let it fly, and he works on throwing there. Okay? Let's go next one. Now we get to Perry Husbands. He has 3 books out. Huh? Yeah, hey, I got to get through these. We got Perry Husbands here. I am not going to try and go through every slide and tell you exactly what's going on, because quite frankly, I don't know myself, okay? But I'm going to try and give you some ideas that you can use. Go ahead. Perry Husbands basically talks about upsetting timing. His idea is like a train station. You got a train going by really close or a train going far away. The train's going the same speed. There are 2 different looks to you as a hitter. So when we talk about going hard in, soft away, that could be a fastball in and a fastball down and away, 2 different pitches. Most people think what? Fastball in, breaking ball away, fastball in, changeup away. Use your fastball judiciously. You can be a hell of a pitcher with 1 pitch. Home runs and doubles, if you are 100% on time, if a hitter's 100% on time with you and I let go of the baseball right here, that ball will come right back where it came from, right by my right ear. If he's early, he's going to hit a ground ball this way. If he's late, he's going to hit a fly, right-handed hitter, he's going to fly ball to the right field or a pop-up, okay? Our job as pitchers is to not let them be on time because singles don't hurt us. What hurts us are the crooked numbers and the doubles and home runs that are hit against us, okay? In fact, the last 10 years, the best teams that have won pennants have done 2 things. Their pitchers have kept the ball in the ballpark and not walked people. The teams that have won championships haven't had the highest batting averages. They've hit the most home runs and got the most walks. So when we talk batting average, is probably one of the most overrated stats that you can have offensively. When I was with Kansas City, we were 2nd in the league in hitting. There were countless times we'd play Oakland, I'd look at the thing and we'd have 1 run on 11 hits and no errors. I'd look at Oakland and they'd have 9 runs on 4 hits and no errors. And then I'd look and say, well, we walked 7 guys. They hit 80% of their hits were doubles or better with men on base. So our batting averages were good, but we didn't score as many runs. This basically just shows you the different reaches that a hitter can have. I can explain this later. Go to the next one. This is probably a nice one for you to understand right here. Ron does this with Garrett. In fact, I will tell you, if you go back to the newsletter, I have it in here. There's a newsletter Ron wrote on what he did with Garrett and how Garrett uses this. I didn't want to recreate that because it's excellent. It would behoove you to get a copy of that. Also, Jerry Weinstein in his book that he has coming out called Catching, that's going to be with the Coach's Corner. He's got a book coming out. He talks about this. Basically, this is a very easy thing to look at. As the pitch gets closer to the hitter's hands, it picks up speed. As the pitch goes away from the hitter's hands, it loses speed. The same pitch. So when I do the clinics, I'll say, how fast, this 85-mile-an-hour fastball right here, how fast is it? And people go, I say, well, when was the War of 1812 fought? They said 1812. Well, so this pitch is 85. Well, that same 85-mile-an-hour pitch right here is going faster. It's going faster. It's going faster. It's 85. It's going faster. I guarantee you the hitter doesn't think this is 85. Okay? This to him is 110. This might be 115. Okay? 85, slower, 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 slower. So what this tells me is when you're facing Albert Pujols and all you have is a 4-seam fastball at 85 miles an hour and you got bases loaded with 2 outs and you can't walk him because on deck is Halladay and Berkman and all these guys, and you throw a fastball off there hoping he chases and he goes like this and he goes, and you throw another one out there and he goes, where's your best place to go? Back inside. As hard as it realizes, you've got a better chance of saying, okay, I'm going to bone up here, I'm going to throw my little nappy little 85-mile-an-hour fastball in here because the pitch that he saw before, if you go back out there away again, his eyes have seen that. That's what he's adjusted to. Perry talks about dividing a hitter's attention into, when a hitter takes a pitch, all of you that have taken pitches, you're playing in your league and the guy's pitching and you take the first pitch. Why do you do that? When you know that the on-base, when you can hit 350 if you swing at it, the reason you do it is you're trying to judge the speed of the pitch. So you throw 85, you don't go, oh, okay, now I got to be ready for 110, and I got to be ready for 37. That's too big a gap. The hitter will say, I got to be ready for 88, and I got to be ready for 82. About a 6 mile an hour difference in there that you feel, okay, if he jumps on one, I can still get it. If he locks up, some of the best outs you get, Flint will tell you, some of the best outs you get is when you're trying to throw a strike and you lock up on a pitch and it doesn't come out at the same speed and the guy swings through it and misses it and you thought it was a bad pitch. It's all because you locked up and nothing came out. So that's what we're talking about here. Next one. Lane changes. He just talks about his lane changes and all this stuff. Every 6 inches lane change, there's a speed which increases or decreases. He talks in units of time. 2.5 inches going this way, 2.5 inches going this way. Let's go on. Elevation changes the reach of the hitter. One of the reasons, if you want your kids, when your kid goes out to throw and 50 guns go up and they're all waiting for your kid to throw his first warm-up pitch, if he was my son, I'd make him throw it 4 feet in front of home plate. All of a sudden, they'll go, shit, 95. Okay? Even though this one looks faster, but it's just physics. I stay with the ball longer. Over the same period of time, I throw the ball faster. So they got to put maximum speed, 95, pitches at 82. Okay? All right? All right, next one. These are units of time. If you notice the up and in to down, that's how the speed. So we've got, this is just another look from the hitter. As speeds get closer, they get faster. As they go away, they get slower. Go ahead. Go on the next one. This basically shows you ball movement. Ball movement's a good thing. It can also be a very bad thing. It can be a bad thing. This is a hard concept because you look for this ball movement. I'm going to tell you what, half the hitters, the ball just runs into the bat. The ball runs into the bat. You got all this great movement, and the guy goes out here, and the ball runs right back into his wheelhouse. It picks up speed. So he's fooled. He starts his swing. It speeds up on him. Boom, he hits a double. Man, that ball had great movement. Well, you just didn't control the speed too well. Okay? So while movement is a very important thing, you have to understand how you can get burned with movement. There's a lot of good pitchers out there that are getting their asses kicked, that have great stuff, that don't realize this. Go ahead. Hitters' attention theory. Hitters are reactionary. Guess hitters are a hybrid of both. Attention stays. Pitchers that understand time can pitch around attention. So if you get pitchers to understand time and speeds and everything, regardless of how fast their velocity comes or whatever, how good their stuff is, if you can understand speeds, there's guys pitching in the big leagues right now that don't have the stuff that I see in AA and AAA, but they understand feels and speeds. I mean, it's just it's an it factor, and you can work with guys on this. Go ahead. Go to the next one. Hitters can only be pitcher. We already did that one. This basically was what Perry put out. This basically talks about pitches that are that you keep out of the attention. They hit 190. If you otherwise they hit about 250. So basically you want to pitch outside of their attention span. So basically what this says is this: if I throw a fastball 90 miles an hour down and away on the black for a strike, that pitch is really 80. I come back with a hard slider. My slider's 78 miles an hour or 77 miles an hour. And I locate it down and away, but I miss by 1 ball in and 1 ball up. I've basically just thrown another same pitch that I just threw before. And so the guy rakes it into right center field, and you go, and so what does the pitcher usually do then? I got to make it break bigger. So just the mere fact that you didn't locate it right causes the pitcher to say, I got to put more to it, and he starts twisting it and spinning it, and pretty soon you throw the cement mixer right here, and it gets hammered, and you're wondering what happened. Next one. Hitters and catchers. If hitters cannot truly react to any pitch they see, why do catchers need to give signs? Really, if you think about it. I mean, catchers already have their glove in the zone, and they get crossed up, and they squeeze, and you see balls bounce. Yet when they do get crossed up, they don't even come close to catching the ball. And we're asking a hitter to do it, and the catcher's already locked in, his eyes are on the ball. Hitters have a lot more to accomplish. It simply does not work at least 100% on time. Go ahead. This hitter's about 60% or less on time. So basically, where he should be making contact with that ball is where that red dot is. Okay? He's been beaten here. He's beat. Okay? He's late on this ball. Go ahead. Next one. Effective velocity goals. Control the hard hit balls. The 0-2, 1-2 count, 90% execute 1 pitch out of 3, 80% strike. Basically what he's talking about here is you can't, this EV stuff that he talks about, effective velocity, you still got to throw strikes. You can't just get so caught up in being so fine and everything that you find yourself 2-0 and 3-1 all the time. All this is when you're working with the pad, let's say, that Paige has, that Ron used, or the new pad that he showed you, use that as a way of doing some of this stuff. The kids will love you when you do this stuff, okay? They'll enjoy this. Let's go. 14 pitches or less. Now, he basically recommends throwing 50% pitches for strikes. Pressure pitches are 40%. On the old pad over there, if you look at the old pad, that gray area that goes around the strike zone is basically a pressure zone. It's a little bit outside the strike zone where the hitter goes, you think it's a ball, the umpire pops you up, or you swing at it because he did call it a previous strike, and you swing at it, it's just outside the zone, you hit a pop-up, when really it wasn't a ball, it wasn't a strike. But it gets back to the old way that we used to teach. Throwing pitches has got to be like an accordion. You start here and you work here. If you start here and try and come back here, you're in trouble. So you still got to pitch ahead. Freeze pitches, what freeze pitches are, think of Barry Zito, think of Oswalt, think of those people when they throw that 50-mile-an-hour curveball that goes popping out of their hand and flies up there, and the hitter goes, oh, that's a ball. But they misjudge the speed, and what happens? Okay? That's what we're talking about. So the breakdown, this will avoid getting, and we're going to talk about probably the most important thing that I see. Thank you. Go ahead. Okay, this is what I really like right here. This is where I think you can really make some hay with this thing. These basically are pressure pitches. What pressure pitches are is the first 20 feet of flight, 60 feet, 6 inches. What I've done, Ron's done it, and I believe you can take a hula hoop, big hula hoop. Tell your pitcher, throw all 3 of his pitches through the hula hoop, but make them be strikes. What 3 combination is easiest to do? Fastball, changeup, slider. The hardest one to do is curveball, because the curveball is a slower pitch. It requires a different break to it. That doesn't mean you can't have a hard curveball. There's guys that have hybrid breaking balls where they can do it. Now, if I have this big hula hoop, and I throw my fastball through here, the bottom of the hula hoop for a strike, and my changeup's just slightly above it, and my slider is maybe right here, all 3 of those pitches come through the hula hoop through the first 20 feet of flight, and they're what we call clustered. They all look the same. So they travel the first 20 feet of flight, and as they get past 20 feet, what do they start to do? They start to separate. If you're pitching and you throw your fastball through the hula hoop, but then you throw your slider that comes way out here, and all of a sudden there's a huge gap, then there's a big difference. Where we normally see this, and I may not have time to show you the video, Perry has so graciously given us, Ron and I, some videos where you put the same pitcher, one on top of the other, showing the pitches coming into home plate. I'll be glad to send them to you. Okay. And so basically what you're doing here is making these pitches look like a strike, and they're not a strike. That's basically what we're talking about with this one. That's the pressure zone. When are you allowed to go to the pressure zone? I would strongly recommend you go to the pressure zone once you're ahead in the count. Okay? Try not to go, because big league hitters will just say, oh, okay, I'll put the pressure back on you. Because big league hitters, I tell you what they do, they try and eliminate pitches. They try and eliminate as many of these pitches as you can. I think the A's, the Red Sox, the Yankees, a lot of those teams, if you watch them play, they eliminate pitches. They say he can't get his breaking ball over, can't get his changeup over, can't get anything over. Koufax once told me, all you got to do as a pitcher is throw one curveball for a called strike in the first inning. The game is yours from then on. If you can throw one for a called strike, they're going to say, oh, he can throw this for a strike. But if you're bouncing it all the time and you can't get it, they say, forget it. They lock you in. Go. Strike pitches, these are basically strikes that come out of the same tunnel. Fastball, slider, changeup is the most common. It's the easiest combination. Go ahead. Freeze pitches. These are the freeze pitches. These are if you use these correctly, you can get a lot of outs. You establish this tunnel with all your pitches, and all of a sudden you come up with something that pops out of the tunnel. The hitter automatically thinks it's going to be a ball. It comes back into the zone for a strike. A lot of times it's a curveball. If you watch Zito when he was throwing his curveball would head toward the third deck in Oakland, and then it'd work its way down at 67 miles an hour. Go ahead. Each pitch has a certain set of tools. 50, 40, 90 pitches will be 90% of your pitches should be inside the tunnel. Okay? Just understand this tunnel is really important. What I do with guys, I start out with a big hula hoop. Guess what I do after they do with the big hula hoop? I get a little tighter hula hoop. You keep trying to cluster. Maddox, you can imagine why Maddox was so difficult. You got all 3 pitches that he threw, that little this, that little this, that little cutter here, all of them are all clustered as they come to home plate, and the hitter has to make up his mind within the first 20 feet of flight. Go ahead. That's Perry's information right there. Strongly suggest you check on it. I told him I'd give him a major plug, which I would do anyway. He helped me a great deal with some of this stuff, and you want to look at next one, please. A fly on the wall. This is conversations with Perry and Jerry, okay? Basically what I did is if we look at the major league strikes, let's see if I don't do this wrong. Whatever. Cliff Lee, major league lead, he throws 71% strikes. 71% strikes. That's way above the major league average. Major league pitchers throw 56, 85. 56% of their strikes, 0-0, 85, 3-0. Major league pitchers are fearful of contact sometimes. Make the pitchers take the count out of their thinking, make the hitter continue to think about it. For Perry, the count is not the key element. The only real issue is where is the hitter's attention. The count is immaterial. When you say to Perry, well, what should I throw, 1-0 or 2-0? It's like asking Einstein something. Okay, he'll say, well, where were the previous pitches? It's not the matter of fact that you got to throw a strike or you should throw a slider now or whatever. Where was the attention the previous pitch? Make your decision on that. It gives you a weapon to kind of keep you going here as a pitcher, okay? Right. You have to be able to throw this for a strike. Please don't get caught up in trying to become so esoteric with this that you forget the main purpose. Ron wrote a really good article on the November-December 2008 issue on this with Garrett and EV, how he uses it with his son. If he can use it with Garrett, no matter how brilliant this kid is, you can all use it with your kids too. A new catching book coming out by Jerry Weinstein is going to be out pretty soon. It's called Coaching from Coach's Choice. And I got to get going one more. Bottom line, these are the bottom line for me with EV. I just kind of put a bow on it. Mental momentum. Mental momentum. EV allows the pitcher, when he's behind in the count, to be aggressive. He can keep the albatross on the hitter. He can be the man in charge. He can be the man pressing it, knowing there's a velocity differential. 0-2 hitters, only time in the middle is the 2-0 pitcher. If he can throw a pitch outside of the middle of the zone with an off speed or even enough off the middle of the zone, he can have some success. Understand the tunnel possibilities, 6 miles an hour attention. See what I got on the next one. And Bauer. I kind of highlighted this one. I should have made it a little more clear to you. This guy is doing some, Ron mentioned it, he's doing some great stuff. Jim filled me in on what he's doing. He's simplified it a little bit. I mean, this guy is a student of the game. Not only does he have good stuff, I pity the guy, I pity the pitching coach that the team he signs with. He's going to overwhelm that pitching coach, okay, when he shows up. That, yeah, he's going to be blabbing in Italy when he goes in to have his beer. He's got this Trevor Bauer guy, Christ almighty. He got me really messed up. But Bauer basically goes with pitch sequences. He's got a way of doing it. Jim gave me a video of what he's trying to do, him and his dad. Simply stated, throw all pitches in the tunnel and let the pitch break wherever the direction it's going to go. That's one of his tenets. Truly Bauer-esque, for sure. Okay, next one. I don't have internet service here. I can send these to you. Perry sent me a four clip thing of Cliff Lee throwing fastball, changeup, fastball, cutter, fastball, curveball, changeup, curveball, showing what it does and how it works. And I have a ton of things that will put one pitcher on top of the other, show the change of the pitches. And to me, that's the essence of pitching. Okay, when we talk about deception, and you wonder why the guy throwing 85 is getting everybody out, and the guy throwing 97 is bagging groceries over here at Kroger's. Okay, so that's basically, I think that's all I got. So again, thank you very much. I overdid my stay. Thank you.